Welcome back to California Gardener. Here I am with my flame seedless grapes. They've been doing great since you saw them last. These grapes really do well here in Southern California. As you can see, they're loaded. There's grapes everywhere. There are just tons of them, huge bunches. Check that out. Look at those bunches of grapes. They're amazing. So what can you do to get a little bit bigger grapes? So you see these huge bunches you have here like this. If you want to get bigger grapes, you really should come around and break the end of the bunch off like that. Just chuck them on the ground, snag these branches and just bust the end of the grapes off like that. That way you'll get bigger grapes. You really should do it a little earlier than this. They're starting to get bigger anyways, and the energy should have been contributing to the plant earlier, but it doesn't hurt. You can still break off some bunches. Now what I did earlier, these plants were getting so thick and growing on and on and on. So what you do is you just come around, you see the fruit branch, you leave a few feet of leaves and you just cut off the branch so it stops growing. That way the fruit will still get the energy it needs, but it won't shade itself, because when you get so much leaves and all this shade, it stops the airflow, it stops the moisture from drying out each day. And then what you get is leaf rot and fruit rot. This fungus will be growing on your plants, which isn't good. You'll actually lose a lot of the fruit. So you got to keep the airflow and the sun shining flow going through your plant. The grapes actually need sunshine to be shining on them to ripen well. So it's good to actually clear out some of the leaves. You can break off some of the leaves if you want to actually thin out the growth a little bit. So here's a close-up of those beautiful clusters of fruit. As you see, they're just massive. So you can just come around like this, bust off the bottom cluster. You won't miss that many grapes, so it'll actually help the rest of the grapes to grow and mature more. As you see, this cluster is huge here, and we really don't need all those grapes. So I'm gonna bust off the middle of this cluster at the bottom like that and just chuck that on the ground. It helps the plant out a little bit, grow those grapes a little bigger. The side branches too can be thinned out a little bit. This cluster's so massive it won't mount to much unless you thin it out a little bit. If you're just looking to make juice, then it really doesn't matter. You can bust off the leaves like that to make some airflow by those grapes so they won't rot, and then they're gonna ripen nicely in the sunshine. Little bunches like this up here that you can see, you can choose to leave them on or take them off. Usually you only want one big cluster per branch that's coming off the main vine. So like this one's so small I think I'll just leave it on, but otherwise you can bust them off if there's more than one on the main branch. This technique of breaking the bottom of the cluster off is what they actually do commercially to raise table grapes. Wine grapes, they'll just let them grow in big clusters because it really doesn't matter the size. But these table grapes, if you're wanting them to eat mostly, then you do need to thin out the clusters a little bit so the grapes get bigger. And it does make a significant difference. I did it last year and I had bigger grapes than I ever had before. Wish you the best of luck growing your grapes. Hopefully you get a huge crop this year, and keeping that in mind, if you want some table grapes, just keep them trimmed down a little bit more and the bunches will actually give you some bigger fruit. Pumpkins are a vining plant, so they love to crawl all over your garden, but the best way to keep them in one place is to grow them up a trellis. So you can build some sort of framework either out of wood, some other pre-made trellis, but it needs to be pretty strong because these pumpkins are heavy.